Okay, this video is going to show you how to use a map and a compass. This is a map compass to find your way in the woods. And what I did was I simulated the inside of our church with different things that correlate with this map. But I made the map and then put the places in place that were needed to. So I want to look at the map first. First thing is this map is called Woods of the Wilderness Church. We got north, south, east, and west. Down here we have, and I simulated this. We're in northern, or actually southern Minnesota. I just guessed at this at the magnetic declination is 1.5. I really don't know what it is, but it's somewhere. It's not a lot because we're in Minnesota. If we were on the west coast, it'd be three or four. If we were on the east coast, it'd be 2 or 3, something like that. But the difference between magnetic declination, or what magnetic declination is the difference between true north and magnetic north. So true north would be the North Pole. Magnetic north would be wherever that red thing is pointing right here on the compass. And so there is a slight difference between true north and magnetic north. So magnetic declination makes up for that difference. And most maps will have a magnetic declination. And since this is a cheap compass, it does not have a secondary pivot that sets the magnetic declination. So we're not even going to worry about that. But if you were in a real life scenario, you would want to find out what your map's magnetic declination is and turn this 1.5 degrees in the direction that it says. So we're not going to worry about that. But what I did was I created a topographical map of the inside of the church, and just like you would be if you were out in the woods, and by scale I did this as a 10-mile long area. And so if you look from where we're going to be standing to the other side of the church, you could just imagine it being 10 miles across. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go in the church, and we're going to imagine, let's do it this way, we're going to imagine that we're going into some woods, or into a forest, or into an area. We don't even know which way is north, south, east, and west, but we do have a map in our hand. And so it's like we're driving up the woods, and we're going in, and we're going to just look at the place and find out where an elevation is. We can get a bearing. So the first thing we want to do is find our bearing. So we'll go in, and like I said, if you wanted to do this, you could do it. You can make a map like this in your own house, in a gymnasium, anywhere, and just put up simulations. So what we're going to do now is I'm looking around, and we're in this vast forest, and we're trying to figure out what is a high point where we can look around and find some places that would be on this map. And the first thing I see is an elevated place, so we're going to go up on the platform, and we're going to go up to the pool. And I do want to show you, come on up here and get close. I'm going to show you a few things about a compass. This is a map compass. This is the base plate, and that is the direction of travel arrow. And then you have the magnetic needle. Then you see these lines in here. This bezel turns. This is called the compass housing. This bezel turns, and those are orienting arrows, or orienting lines, and an orienting arrow. And that would always go to north when you get everything set in order to find out where you're going to go. And so direction of travel, that's the main things you'll need, is direction of travel, orient, and arrow lines, and then of course the needle itself. And so okay, back away, and we're going to turn the map over and look. Now what we're going to do is, okay, back up and look at me there. Okay, so what we're going to do is imagine that we're in the woods. We found an elevated location, and we're going to look around and try to find some things that we can look at the map and identify on the map. And so as I'm looking around, I see a microphone stand over there. And so we're going to look on this map and we're going to see, and right now we don't even know which direction north and south is. So we're just going to look on the map and I'm going to try to find where the mic stand would be. And here is mic stand peak. And so that is one location that we definitely have a bearing of where it's at. We know where it's at. But we do not know where we are at. That's what we're trying to find out, is we're trying to get our bearings. We're trying to find out where we're at. And so we know microphone stand. We know that is a place that, that we can look at on the map. Okay, another place is, we look over here, there's a piano with a microphone. And so if you look on here, across from that kind of is Piano Mountain and Microphone Summit. And so what we're going to do, now that we have two known points, we can use this compass to find where we are, find our bearings. That way we can make a place that we want to go to and travel there. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to stand right here and I'm going to point this red arrow to the microphone stand, to the destination in which we see a known object out there. And when I want you to come over here and look down at this. Okay, look down at this. What I am doing is I am going to turn this to where it is lined up with that microphone stand and north. Okay, and so I'm going to turn it, and that looks like it is right in there. Okay, now let me get it out of the arrow. We go. Maybe that's better. Okay, so you can see that the arrow is pointing toward the microphone stand, and the orientating arrow is on the north. So that is exactly where we want to be. Okay, so what I do is I've got that lined up just right. North is where it's supposed to be. So now we can take this map compass and put it on our map, and we still do not even need to know where north, south, east, and west is. All we have to do is know where this microphone summit is at on our map. And so here's what microphone peak. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb on mic stand peak on the arrow, and I'm going to turn this compass until it lines up. These indicating lines line up with the north and south lines on our map. Okay, so we have them lining up just right. If you can see right there, we've got them lining up just right there. Okay, now I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to draw a line from there, making sure these things are lined up. Now we have one line from microphone peak, microphone stand to across here. Now we've got to look at, we're gonna do the piano now. So back up a little bit. Let's do this. We know that it's on the map. So now I'm going to turn my arrow directly toward the mic stand, and I'm going to turn this dial to where true north is inside of this. Okay, so right now, true north is exactly in that, and that arrow is pointed exactly to that mic stand. Everything is lined up. And I have 265 degrees. So I've got 240, 245, 250, 255, 260, 265 degrees. That's where I'm at. Now, all I have to do, you don't even have to really look at the 265. You don't even have to take those into consideration. You just got to make sure that arrow is pointed to the mic stand or the known place, and that this arrow inside the bezel that turns is pointed in the right direction. That's all you have to have. So now we're going to take this and we're going to put it on the map. We're going to find a known position, and we have Piano Mountain, Microphone Summit. So now what we do is we take our pen and we put our compass down here, and we're going to find these lines. That's true north, and we're going to turn this to line up with those lines. And if you can see, I want you to get right here. I want you can see, if you see down through there, you can see these lines showing through. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up. We're going to line up. And I'm looking at that line right there, and I'm getting it just perfectly lined up with that line. And it is perfectly lined up now. Look what happens when we draw a line. Boom. We have just made a dissection of these 2 points, and it ended up dead on Pulpit Peak, which is exactly where we're at. So what we've done now is, no matter how you turn this map, we have found our location. Now that we have our location, we're going to disregard north, south, east, and west. We're going to disregard that. We're standing on Pulpit Peak. That is the dissection of where those lines are drawn. Now we can look and say, okay, over there is Oregon Mountain with Songbook Summit, and we're looking on our map. We're finding different. If we turn our map to where we can read it, we find we're here. The Oregon Mountain is over here. We're looking around. There's Mount Balcony. And see, there's Mount Balcony. We can see where that's at now. That's 10 miles away on the map. We look here. Here's a place called Gold Cabin. So evidently, this X right here marks a cabin. That's where our destination is that we want to go to. So we're going to take a day hike to Gold Cabin. It's early in the morning. We should be able to make a 10-mile hike in one day. So we're going to hit. This is a valley in between here, and we're on a peak. We're going to go down that valley, and we're going to try to track up that mountain, and we're going to try to get to Gold Cabin. So now, what we have is we have a bearing, and we have a destination that we're going to. So now we know where we're at, and we know where we're going to go. So now what we do is we take our compass and we point it directly toward the mountain that we want to go to. And we look at, actually we're going to go in reverse this time. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. We're going to do this. We know that there's a cabin on the other side of that mountain. We can't see it from here. So we really don't know what direction it's in. We don't know what direction to go. We have no idea. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put our compass on the map from the direction that we're at. We're going to use a straight edge because it's just easier to do. A straight edge. We're going to put a straight edge on where we're at and where we're going, which is Gold Cabin. Now we're going to put our compass up against that line, and then we're going to turn this bezel to where it lines up with true north on the map. And there is true north right there. Now, you don't have to have a ruler to do that. You can just put it on there and then kind of get down over here. What you can do is if you got this sitting on a rock or on the ground for that matter, You don't want to do it where there's metal objects, like on a steel table. You don't want to do it there. You want to do it on, on a surface that has no magnetic variance. So if we were on the ground or on a rock or something like that, we would just lay this on the map, and we would look down the map and line it up with our destination, where we want to go. And that makes it easier with a straight edge, but you don't have to have one. So we've done that, and we have lined up our lines in the compass to the lines on the map. Now we have a degree that we know that we need to be at, okay? And so, actually, you know what I did? I might have done that. I might have done that backwards. I might should have done it that way. Yeah. That's one thing you gotta watch when you're doing this, is you gotta make sure that you're heading north instead of south. And I was just heading south, so I'm gonna redo this compass. Okay. So now we know that we want to go to Gold Cabin. We have our compass set to go to the cabin. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at where the cabin is at and make sure that our compass is in the north arrow, which it is. We look. Now we can't see the cabin, but we want to try to find a identifiable landmark. And I see a big tree sticking up out of the middle of nowhere. So that is going to be our reference point. That tree, it looks like, is about 5 miles away. You can barely see it, but it is a identifiable reference point that's never going to move. And even if we walk this way and that way and in a lot of different ways, that fixed point will never move. So we're going to find our way to that point. As long we don't even need a compass. We can stick the compass in our backpack, and as long as we get to that point, and we know where we came from, then we're good. Matter of fact, we don't even need to know where we're coming from. We can get to that point, and then we can use this without moving the bezel. We've already wrote down. We can write down our degrees, and 200 degrees. As long as we keep that at 200 degrees, the bezel will be in the right place. And so 200 degrees is where we're headed. And so we hike and wander around and enjoy the day while we're hiking, and we're trying to make it to that point. And so we're going to go up into the balcony and make it to that point. So now we're up here, and here's the point that we're trying to get to. I hope I don't fall off this.
I hope you don't leave it.
This is the point we're trying to get to. And so let's say that we have our back up to the tree. And listen, you can be within 5 or 10 feet of that tree in a 10-mile area. You're still going to work. It's still going to work as long as you're somewhere near this reference point. So let's just say that we're standing right next to the tree or right behind it, and we know that we came from that direction. Now what we do is we put our north back in our north on the bezel, and we look for another reference point. And we're at a place where now we're on top of the mountain, and we can see down the mountain. And if you look in the distance, you can see the cabin. So, and if the cabin weren't there, we would look for another reference. We would look for another tree, or a water tower, or an opening in the horizon of the direction we're pointed at, and find another landmark that will not move. And then we can hike another hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to get to that point, as long as we keep these landmarks in line with our destination. If we keep walking according to that next destination and make it there, and then point our compass the way it needs to go, having confidence before you ever go out on a trail, knowing how to use a compass and knowing that there's no way you can get lost and there's no way that you can not know where you're at, is a great asset to being able to just survive out in the wilderness. And so what you can do to build confidence is you can do it in a house, you can do it in a gym, you can do it in a church, you can do it outside in your yard. You can go out in your yard, you can find a point here and a point here and a point here, and draw yourself a map that has those points on it in reference to the degrees. The degrees have to be right. You know, it take you a little bit to make, but you can create a map that is true to a compass, and the angles are right. You could build a map and do it yourself and test it out and build confidence in learning how to use a map compass. So, amen. Okay, now that everything we went through everything, the last this is just kind of like a summary of all of it. First step is set your declination. Find the declination, magnetic declination on your map. Set it on your compass. Second thing, this is the most important thing. Find your bearing. Look at points. Draw the points on the map after you've done it on your compass, and find where you are at. That is your bearing. Once you find your bearing, then the next thing you'll do is decide your destination. Where do you want to go? When you find your destination on your compass and you've lined it up with the points on the compass, and you've turned your dial to hit that, and you have wrote down on your hand or remembered or whatever. I would write it down. Write down your degrees on your compass that points to your destination. Then you find landmarks that are in line with your destination and follow them, and you will get to your destination. So those are really the 4 steps. Set your declination, find your bearing, find your destination, find landmarks in line with your destination, and follow them, and you'll get there. Now we're going to talk about the scale on the side of your compass. And this map right here, we're just for simplicity, we're going to say that this map is 10 miles from where we're at. Let's just do it this way. You'll always have a scale on your map that shows you how many miles is so many distance. So from here to our destination, let's just say is 10 miles, and we know we're gonna look at our increments on our map. And so let's just say we've got 3 miles right here. So we're going to say 3 miles, 6 miles, 9 miles. So from the point where we're leaving from to the point where we're going, we know is 9 miles. So that gives us an indication of if we think we can travel 15 miles in a day, then we know we can make that trek. And so it just kind of gives you an idea with using the measurement, how far you have to go. And so as you go, you can mark on your map different places that you know exists, and you can track how long it's going to be or how many miles you got to go to get to your next destination.